So we've replaced the motor and the prop, picked up replacement motor for an AXN Clouds Fly, which is suited to 3S, and also from memory about 2150 kV, so not that much different from the motor that came with it. I gave a 5x3x3 prop a run, but it really wasn't the right prop for this. So I've managed to pick up a Gemfan 5x5, which is not perfect, but it's certainly better. And as you can see from this clip, I'm sort of out there and tiptoeing cautiously. I really need to be a bit more enthusiastic about it. This boat doesn't do well until it's up on the plane. And then it's a bit more controllable. It's not that good because it wanders very easily. You'd swear the skipper was drunk. Breezes and wake and all kinds of stuff will knock it off course quite easily, so it doesn't track at all straight. So I think I will try a stabilizer on the rudder. A guy, I can't think of his name now, in round Andrew Newton's way in Victoria, stuck a stabilizer on his dog before a dog picked it up and crunched it. And he said that it worked very well, so I'll give that a try. It just makes it a bit easier to steer, especially when you're out in the boonies and you've turned it around and you think it's heading back to you, and then it just suddenly turns off course and you're not sure what the hell it's doing then. The other thing I wanted to do today was to test what it was like on 3S. I'll have to figure out how to cool the ESC. But it worked very well on 3S. It's certainly better on 3S than it is on 2S. Runs along quite happily at half throttle on 3S, where it's flat out on 2S. And in both cases, it will eventually overheat the ESC, and all that happens is the ESC just slows the boat down. So it's nothing drastic. But yes, the boat just suddenly slows down to about half the speed you were doing. Enough to get it back home, put it that way, so that's all good. What else? Oh yes, we tried putting a HD camera on the snout of the boat. That did two things. It suggested that a little ballast on the nose of the boat wouldn't do it any harm. I'm not an up there person with boaty things, but I thought it tracked better with a bit of weight on the nose. It handled the wind better in my view. And it also gives you an idea of what you can see from the water. So if you were making this an FPV rig, I think perfectly doable. You're jumping around a little bit, but not too bad. You can certainly see well enough to see where you are. This is on 3S too for this trip, so you've got a pretty reasonable turn of speed. The extra speed actually helps it track better, but it still gets knocked around very easily. It's interesting to see the occasional splash of water up in front of the camera now and again, but neither of the cameras that I used on this got wet, so that's good news. It's certainly not a craft you would take out at anything. Oh, I'm trying to sneak up on a bird here. If this thing would only stay pointed straight, it'd be a piece of cake. But I guess this is the price you pay for having rudders out in the air. Speaking of wildlife, I saw an enormous carp in here this morning, a good 2 foot long, easy. There's loads of gambusia in here too, so that probably takes care of the mosquito problem. They could have used native fish to do that, but never mind, they probably never thought of that. So since being introduced to this little waterway by Andy some months back, the boating side has been sitting there niggling away in the background, and I've come to the conclusion that I don't think motorboats are going to be my thing. It's not that I'm not going to have anything to do with them, but I don't think it's the thing that I want to do. I could be into sailing, so I've ordered myself a Graupner Micro Mini to learn to sail RC boats, but I'm particularly keen on FPVing the boat, because I reckon sitting here with a pair of goggles on, even driving this around in these conditions, as poor as it is to steer, I think it'd be quite a thing, and I'd certainly have no trouble telling which side of this buoy I was going to go. And certainly it's quite pleasant standing here driving this thing around on a fairly warm day and standing in the shade, and yeah, could FPV this quite easily. And it looks like it would stay dry enough, I mean barring getting tipped over and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not planning on doing that. So anyway, I'll finish this off with a bit of music, so enjoy, and I'll catch you later.